So, it's Monday, which means it's time for a little Monday motivation. Sort of. For those of you who don't know who I am, I'm Aradia Noire. I'm your resident witch and creatrix over to Radi's Hand and Danaeus Divine, where I create myth, magic, and meaning for your everyday life through art, intuition, and energy work. And on Mondays, I like to talk a little bit about what's motivating, as well as put a little intention out for the week. Now, the reality is, sometimes I'm motivated, and sometimes I'm not. And by the sheer amount of things that people think that I get done, I don't know where these numbers of things done that they're using to as a metric, because I don't think I get a whole lot done at all, like ever. I think some people think that I have more motivation than I usually do. And so part of the whole purpose of Monday Motivation is to clarify and to demystify that whole how that even happens. Because the reality is, I've got stuff to do. I don't always feel like doing it. Sometimes I cut myself some slack, sort of, kind of, not really. Other times I push through anyway. I don't really recommend either route. It really depends on you. You need to know yourself and what you can do. I am a proponent of spoon theory, though, and pushing yourself repeatedly does not end in you having more spoons, and just like resting a whole lot more and then going right back to the breakneck schedule that you had before doesn't equal out. So the reality is, there's not an answer. And I think it's really important here on my channel to make sure that's really clear, because a lot of people have a lot of misinformation and a lot of very stringent views about what it means to be productive, how to be productive, the best way to do things. And a lot of it, as far as from a Western mindset, centers very heavily around pushing through, doing things anyway. And that almost assuredly almost always leads to burnout and can lead to other things like heightening your stress, and that's got a lot of consequences. So I don't suggest that anybody do that. But I also just want to give a real look, because the other thing I like to do here on my channel is clarify and elucidate what it means to be an artist, a creative person, someone who is in touch and in tune with their inspiration. A lot of people have some very interesting ideas about what that is too, which are not necessarily accurate. And so again, I want to get all of the misinformation out of the way as much as possible and just be real, because it's really easy to look at the shiny side, the end result, and think that things look a certain way, and they don't. But just because they don't look new and shiny and bright or look this way doesn't mean that there's not some way to make it work. So without further ado, I'm not feeling terribly motivated this Monday. Actually, the reality is I got a little bit done, and I've basically become tired of being tired, which really doesn't take that long, honestly. So lately, I've had a lot of rain checks, a lot of intentional, I'm not going to post today, I'll post tomorrow, post later, post later, post later. And the reality is I'm too fucking tired. I have my schedule set up a very specific way, and it does not do well with hiccups or having to substitute things. Unfortunately, with the pandemic, with the social uprisings that are going on, and just my mental health and some other things that I have coming up at the time of the year it is, it's summer, blah, 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 blah. There's a lot of shit going on, and so it's all taxing me like extra more than usual. And waiting for it to end, waiting for me to suddenly have like more energy, that's not a thing. That's not real. So instead of doing that, we're gonna try pushing through for a little bit. So again, like I said, I don't really recommend doing this on this is not a sustainable way to like exist. So I keep fidgeting. But this is not a sustainable way to like exist and function. And one of the other things I want to impress upon people is you need to work in a way that works for you. If it doesn't work for you to work a certain way, then do something else. Now, what I will say, though, before we like go further, is give things a chance to work for you. A lot of people are very quick to say, oh, well, that doesn't work, when they didn't actually give it a chance. You can't say something did or didn't work if you didn't give it a decent chance. And a decent chance is not trying it once. A decent chance is not half-assing it. A decent chance is actually trying over an extended period of time. Because the reality is, sometimes, you need like a couple days or a couple of weeks to get down with something. And especially if you've been doing something a different way your entire life. So there's that. But, we're going to start small as far as the intentions go. I'm trying to stay working in my work days, which Monday right now is a little hinky with that, because in the afternoon I have a class that I'm taking which relates to the work that I'm doing, because it's all metaphysically based and related, but it's that instead of like me doing work. But I guess it's really relative, right? Yeah, probably. Anyway, so for today, I've actually stayed on task for the most part. I did cut and run at the end of my workday. I had something come up, and so I basically chopped off the end work, which is usually me checking my email and checking into social media, which is like very low priority. My social media, my email is not so busy that if I skip it for a day, it's like a really big deal. So, which is why I bookend my days with it, which a lot of people are like, don't do that. And I'm like, yeah, well, my social media presence and my email situation are very, very low key. So me starting and ending my day with it's not a big deal. Which is just a really good example of do what works for you. Like a lot of people are like, oh, don't do this. But like, I don't worry about social media, past those times. I don't check my email past those times. Those times are specific for it. That's it. I have a really strict, hard boundary around it. And I think a lot of the people who are like suggesting to not do it are suggesting it to people who don't have boundaries around it, or just have like more than they can handle and they don't have anybody else to help them for whatever reason. So there's that. Let's see. So work schedule, and then my 6 things. So we've been working at 6 things for a couple months now. How it was going is I started 4 things in January, went up to 5 things in February, and March we got up to 6 things. Well, the rule was go through an entire calendar month of doing those things every single day, 100%, and then the next month I could add something on. Obviously, if I'm still doing 6 things, that means April and May. So far, no. And June, honestly, it's not looking good. I've already missed a couple of things, a couple of days. Now, and when I say do the 6 things, posting a rain check to my Patreon is not posting to Patreon. It is posting insofar that the post was done, but it's not my scheduled post, which means I'm not counting it. I'm counting it as done, but not. It's all in here, so don't worry about it. But that being said, yeah, which is actually why I'm here. It's once I get off of a habit of doing something, getting back onto the habit of doing it is like jaws of life kind of situation. So yeah, I wouldn't say I get easily discouraged, but yes, yeah, and it's super super irritating actually, because it's very hard to just push past that. The amount of energy it takes me to get out of inertia is redonkulous, basically. So that's it. Intentions, stay on track, do the 6 things. We're keeping it small this week, mostly because if I do too much, then I'll overwhelm and just not do anything. If I don't do enough, which is actually, let's just knock stuff over, that's cool. Here's a funny thing about me. And this is one of those things, I only learned this by paying attention to how I work. If I try to do less, I have a tendency to do nothing. If I try to do more, I am more likely to do all of it. It's a weird thing. I attribute it to my Mercury being in Leo. It's very extra. So, hey, whatever. And that's really what's important here. Find what works for you, do that. That's right. It's that simple. And nobody really can tell you what works for you. Like, you need to make that decision yourself. So that's it. that's it. We're keeping it. We're also going to try and keep these videos 15 minutes or less for the weekly ones, 30 for the monthly ones. Obviously yesterday's was like 23, 24 minutes, but I got all kooky. So, you know, that happens. And that's just a general guideline, really. Anyway. So. Okay, let's update our thingy. Yeah, I try to keep my outlines updated as I'm make changes so that I don't forget. So, I do have a picture today. It's boring. It's the workload for today. I'm trying to do something different where the main thing I'm working on will be the picture for the week, for Monday. Wednesday would be the collection of everything I'm working on project-wise. And of course, Friday is whatever I finished, when relevant. But when I'm working on, like, intangible things, like just like a schedule, like a concept or a video, it's really hard to take a picture of that. And I don't like just putting a random picture placeholder that doesn't... It always irritated me, honestly. So I don't want to do that. But if you would like to see what I have on my docket today, you can look at the page. You can look at the post. So if you're watching this on YouTube, hit the link at the top and it'll send you over to Patreon, and then you can take a look at my planner like a weirdo stalker person. Like, if that's what you want to do with your time, go for it. Other than that, my question for you today is, what has got you motivated this week, today, and what are you working on? Tell me about it. You can drop a comment below. I always read them, and I like to hear from y'all. Also, links to my websites, Aradia's Hand and Danae's Divine, are included below, as well as my active social media, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, which is where I hang out the most. And for your announcement, you know, so I did that thing where I completely forgot to look at my schedule. I think I have an idea of what's supposed to be tomorrow. And if it's not on the schedule, well, it's going to be now. So, we're going to do a little very brief magic haul. Speaking of that class that I had this afternoon, it's stuff for that. And yeah. So, if you'd like to see some of the stuff that I use in my magic practice, personal, professional, whatever, stay tuned for tomorrow. Of course, thank you for being here. Thank you for liking and subscribing if you're watching this on YouTube. And if you're a Patreon patron, I appreciate you. Your support means that I can do more free videos like this. And if you're on YouTube, head over to Patreon, link at the top, and consider becoming a patron, because you get cool extra stuff that I don't give out like anywhere else or share or do. I'm very high touch there. And, you know, you're gonna make, like, more things like this possible. So, like, yeah, it's cool. Spread the love, right? It's a nice thing to do. Fuck it. Anyway, that's it. That's it. I will see you tomorrow. I'm hoping that I can get back into getting some of the Tuesday haul videos done ahead of time. I'm not going to promise that it would be that's the ideal intention, because let's just be real here, the best laid plans, right, of mice and men often go awry. Thanks, Steinbeck. I hate you too. I hate that quote. It's from of Mice and Men. I don't like that book. That book is fucking depressing. I don't know that any of Steinbeck's work isn't, though, but that's the only one that I know for a fact that I read. I didn't read it because I wanted to. I read it because it was required and I was in school, and, you know, yeah. It was the one with Lenny and George, right? It's really awful. And it's like Depression era writing, so it's really, really awful. Anyway, I'm gonna go. Alright, sweetlings, I'll see you tomorrow.